Good afternoon. My name is Ian Pryor. I'm a Loudoun County resident in Blue Ridge. We are here today, parents in Loudoun County, to have an unvarnished, free, open comment period directed to the Loudoun County School Board. People will be given 90 seconds to speak, although it's a loose rule. People will be allowed to applause or do jazz hands if they want. Because this is about delivering our message, not just to the Loudoun County Public School Board, but also to the community at large. And we're here because the Loudoun County School Board has once again tried to silence parents from getting that message out. There are now rule changes that will only allow 10 people in the building at a time, one speaker in the boardroom, and no crowd whatsoever, with the rest of the people having to wait outside. Now, I will tell you that we were fully expecting this, and we planned accordingly, so here we are. But I do want to go back to the supposed reason why we have these rules. On June 22nd, we had a school board meeting which made national news. And early on in those speakers, there was a woman who directed her statement to the crowd. And she said, "The hate is dripping from all the followers of Jesus and their children." And what happened? There was a reaction in the crowd. They booed. That's about it. And the chairwoman of the board shut down public comment for a period of time. And then she came back in. And she did not address the decorum of a speaker addressing the crowd in that manner. No, instead, she gave her time back. Fast forward about an hour, when another individual, a former senator here in Virginia, spoke to the school board, directed his comments to the school board. What happened? Applause. And then they shut the meeting down based on decorum. Again, I don't remember decorum when somebody was addressing the crowd with hateful rhetoric. I don't remember decorum when we had school board members part of an illegal meeting where one school board member lit a fire that resulted in other individuals in the community plotting against dozens of other parents for exercising their right to speak at school board meetings. Now, I know you, the school board, think that the problems we have are because of us, that we are the ones that have made you into the uncompromising, stubborn school board members that refuse to deal with parents. We made you. You made us first. For a year and a half, parents have been going to these school board meetings, begging you to take action, asking you to work with them to keep schools open, to keep certain curriculum out of schools, to talk to them about policies that are divisive, and you refuse to listen. You only listen to the special interests and a small minority of people that have your ear. Now, a few months ago, I came before this school board and I said, we can do this all day, every day until we make a change. And maybe you weren't listening, or maybe you didn't believe me. Are you listening now? Do you believe me now? We, the parents, have had enough of being ignored, of being mocked. We do not need rogue school board members starting in private Facebook groups to attack parents. And many of you are past the point where we can have any conversations, but not all of you. And so you are going to have to make a choice, a decision. Are you going to stand with the parents that send their kids through those two doors every day, with the grandparents that worry about what their kids are learning, with the taxpayers who fund the billion-dollar budget of this school system and your salary? Now listen, we understand that we are not going to get 100% of what we want all the time, but we need to have conversations. And to those of you that are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. Now you can stand with us, the parents, or you can stand with the sinking ship that is Beth Bartz and her minions of hateful, intolerant individuals that will try and destroy anyone that has a different opinion than they do. Because that is the choice that you are faced with. So it's up to you. You get a chance to heal this community, to stand up and be the hero. So it's time for some of you to step up, or you can side with Miss Bartz and her allies and go down in infamy. Thank you.
My name is Monica Gill, and I am a teacher of AP Government at Loudoun County High School here in the county. And I stand against Loudoun County Public Schools' equity policies and initiative because they are critical race theory in disguise. I have sat in the teacher trainings, and I have witnessed it. I have witnessed this division pushing the racial stereotype of white privilege, and I have sadly watched that trickle down into our student body, where I have seen our students of color say things to their peers who are white, like, "You can't be a part of this conversation because you're white." And that's heartbreaking. No child should be excluded because of their skin color. Skin color has nothing to do with whether or not they have something of value to add to a discussion or to our community. We're being taught that claiming colorblindness is a microaggression and racist. That is the complete opposite of what we were taught by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He advocated for a colorblind society. And that's what we should be teaching our children, that there is only one race, the human race, and advocating anything different is counterproductive to a healthy community, as we now have daily proof. I have been teaching for 26 years, and I have never once ever been afraid to deal with the issues of race or injustice in our history. In fact, I welcome the opportunity to teach about them because it allows me to point to America's moral compass, which we have used time and time again to right those wrongs and right the ship. And so all of these parents who stand behind me and the teachers who stand with me, it's not that we're afraid of talking about race or teaching about racial injustice. It's that we don't want our children to be taught through this distorted lens of race, CRT. We want our kids to be taught the MLK way, where the most important thing about an individual is who they are, not what they look like. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Xi Van Fleet. CRT has been taught and preached in our higher education for decades. We see the result on our campuses where students attack conservative professors and speakers just because they disagree. We also see the result in our cities where the self-proclaimed progressive youth created total chaos by burning down buildings, tearing down statues, and attacking police in the name of anti-racism. During the Cultural Revolution in China, I witnessed Mao's Red Guards doing exact the same thing. The social justice warriors in America today are the Red Guards of Mao's China of yesterday. Many of the indoctrinated youth are now teaching and running our schools. That is not enough. Now they want to officially introduce CRT into our public schools. The radical left understands the importance of starting the indoctrination as early as possible. CRT not only teaching the children that the way they are born into determines whether they are villains or victims. It is also used to silence those who dare to question. Mao used the exact tactics in China. CRT was designed to turn our children against us and against our country. Parents, these are our children. They do not belong to the government. Thank you.
How did we get here? How did we get to the point where we are fighting about what we believe is best for our children? Please remember that these are our children, not your children. We voted for you to represent us as parents. We give our taxpayer money to you to wisely use to help our children. Masks? Can't you make it optional? Can't you give the permission to each parent to choose what they feel is best for their children? The transgender policy. You want these transgender students, which are roughly 0.38% of the entire student body, to use the opposite sex bathrooms and play sports with the opposite gender. What about the safety of those non-transgender girls? What about the 81,000 students that are not transgender? Protecting our children. Ms. Bartz, you said and made it very clear in a videotaped committee that it was not your responsibility to protect our children. How can you say such a thing? You are supposed to represent all children. You are supposed to protect every child. Culturally responsive training, diversity, equity, whatever you call it, it is components of critical race theory. That's exactly what it is, a theory. Can't we get back to academics? Can't we focus on teaching my junior in high school the basics of math, science, writing? Can't you help my son prepare for his future instead of teaching him to be a social justice warrior? It doesn't matter to my son what color the child sitting next to him in the classroom is, or the color of the player on the football team with him is. It matters that they respect each other and can have a great dialogue in the classroom without making them feel guilty or victimized because of the color of their skin. How is there systemic racism in Loudoun County? I'd like to hear examples of it. I've lived in this county for 23 years, and my children and I have not seen this. I am pleading with you to put aside your progressive ideologies and do what's best for all 81,000 of these Loudoun County students. Put our children first.
Hi, I'm Rob Reinish. I have one son in Loudoun County school system, another one who thankfully was accepted to private school this year. As we begin another school in our dysfunctional school system called LCPS, it's time to step forward and for us to be honest about COVID-19, something that our school board doesn't seem capable of. At a global and national and a local level, public health officials have been horribly wrong about COVID. Shutdowns did more harm than good. Counties and countries that tried them did not get rid of COVID. School shutdowns were devastating for the children of Loudoun County. We lost too many teens due to social isolation and mental illness. We need to make sure that we never do this again. As of August 6, 2021, per the VDH website, Loudoun County has 50 COVID-19 cases, 44 seven-day moving average. This is roughly the same as it was last year. As of today, in Loudoun County, we have 0 new deaths compared with 2 a year ago. Our 7-day moving average of deaths in this county is 0, thankfully. Since the start of the pandemic, there have thankfully been 0 deaths in the 0 to 19 age group in Loudoun County. Out of the 283 deaths in this county due to COVID, roughly 235 or 83% have been in the 70 plus age group. While tragic, it highlights our responsibility to focus vaccine efforts, therapeutics, and special care on the elderly. These stats also show that COVID-19 is a virus that disproportionately affects the elderly and does not disproportionately affect our children. Here in Virginia, our students ranked 44th out of 50 states in terms of the number of in-person learning days last year. 44th. We still do not have anything from Loudoun County public school systems for how they're going to address the learning loss that our children experienced for the past 18 months. We're still waiting as a community for the plan. We haven't heard anything about it. If we're going to be honest as a community, we need to recognize COVID-19 is going to be with us next school year and beyond. We need to make sure we follow the example of countless school districts throughout the country and remain open for in-person learning. When case counts climb, which should not actually be used as a metric anyway, but when case counts do climb this fall, there's going to be a temptation to close our schools. LCPS must resist the urge to close our schools when cases climb. We have a virtual capability at a county level. We have a virtual capability at a state level for those who do not feel comfortable with in-person learning. Every teacher and staff member has also had an opportunity to vaccinate. Dr. Ziegler and this school board have an obligation to the children of Loudoun County and to this community to make sure that our schools stay open for this entire school year. The children at LCPS cannot endure another year of closures and confusion. Thank you.
I'm Joe Mobley from the Catoctin District in Loudoun County, and I'm fortunate enough to have my 3, soon-to-be 4 kids homeschooled, but that doesn't mean that I don't care about this community. That doesn't mean that I don't care about the well-being of the students and the teachers, the staff, the parents, and even you government officials. And, my credentials stand on their own. We don't need to get into it. There are so many different nuances from CRT, public health things, mental health. There's so many things to get at, and I just want to distill to the single most obvious point. And the obvious point is this: you are elected officials, okay? We elected you. I elected you. I got to vote in this one with my ID, finding out where the election was on the internet, on my smartphone that I know how to use. But I digress. You have a responsibility to govern, okay? And when you govern, you represent the interests of the people, and we're the people. There's no one telling you to support these crazy policies. There's no one telling you to support a Fauci, a CDC, a World Health Organization, Ibrahim Kendi. No one is telling you to do that. You are using the authority of your office to do this insane stuff, and it's misappropriation of everything. Funds, time, I would say talent, but I've seen no evidence of that. So what you need to do is remember that you were the person who sought this out. You wanted to be an elected official. This wasn't thrust on you. And if your interests don't align with our interests, the people who voted for you, then resign or wait to be recalled. It's up to you.
Hello, my name is Paul Troth. I'm a current LCPS PE teacher. I've taught precious teenagers who identify as transgender, and I chose to address them respectfully by using their preferred first name. It is possible to teach and be kind without affirming. No child should be taught to demand another's affirmation. Rather, they should be taught that their worth is inherent. No child should be forced to affirm what may be contrary to their moral convictions or understanding of logical reality and biological reality. No teacher should be forced to be compelled to speak in a way that affirms something against their conscience or comply with actions that they believe may harm a child. No person should be forced to utter prayer, say the pledge, or communicate approval of anything against their conscience. LCPS should uphold an umbrella of freedom and grace. Freedom to think critically and grace that acknowledges our differing worldviews without demanding approval from others. All students and staff deserve equal protection to live out their convictions as they see fit, without demanding the affirmation and celebration of others. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Craig Dufresne. The 2021-2022 school year will mark 11 years that I've had at least one child in LCPS. I now have 5 enrolled. If anyone had cautioned me against the actions of this board, I would never have believed it. In the past 2 years, I've watched our school system become a hotbed of partisan politics, the laughingstock of our nation, and the poster child for school choice. Whether it is the attempts to silence the opposition by the members of this school board, stomping on the First Amendment rights of a teacher, shaming of religious beliefs, or training educators in divisive propaganda, the parents of this community have had enough. Today is a new day, marks the beginning of a new year. We, the parents of LCPS, no longer ask, but have taken it into our hands to make change. Now is not the time to adopt poor policy from the state because you believe you must. It is time to quit spending money on divisive training and woke propaganda, and it is time to put the education of our children first. Based on the comments of a few on this board, I'm encouraged that there is some sensibility, but it is only a small glimmer. Just as children in our school have narrative opposing views that have been silenced, so have school board members with opposing views. It is time for the minority to speak up. It's time for the few to be louder and truly enact change. It is time to be leaders in our community and listen to the constituents. If putting the needs and safety of our children ahead of partisan politics is not of interest, or you simply don't have the courage to stand up, then it's time to step aside. Thank you.
Loudoun residents are concerned. I'm one of them. Why? Because we see our children being exposed to danger, apparently in service to a leftist political agenda. Do our school board members care for children? I've been watching, and I'm beginning to believe that they don't. When we care about kids, we do a number of different things. Among them, we teach them that truth exists, and we encourage them to seek it. We protect them from things harmful to their minds, including sexually explicit and immoral materials. We encourage them to be strong in every circumstance and equip them to overcome obstacles rather than to blame others. We teach them that what really counts is their humanity, not the shade of their skin. We follow science and reason when it comes to all kinds of things, including masks and school opening. We commend teachers who speak truth to them with compassion. And we make sure that sex-specific spaces are safe and modesty is protected for everyone. On the other hand, if you don't care about children but rather see them as tools in a leftist political experiment, you teach kids that truth can be whatever they want it to be. You suspend teachers for saying that they will not lie to students. You vote to put sexually explicit books on the diversity reading list into LCPS libraries. You vote to make school properties gun-free zones, dangerous gun-free zones. You tell kids that when they meet obstacles, they should be angry with people who don't look like them. I've just listed a number of different examples. There are many more, but in every one of these, the LCPS board has consistently chosen leftist political priorities over the safety and well-being of children. Because of this board, excellence is being replaced with mediocrity in the name of equity. Safety is being sacrificed to irrational fear. Science is being ignored in favor of trendy social causes, and justice is taking the back seat to racial essentialism. The reason that the recall petitions against many of these school board members are moving ahead so quickly is fairly obvious. Nearly everyone knows that this board is hurting kids. This is not only malfeasance, in my view, it is child abuse. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Darris Hess, and my wife and I and our 2 children live in Loudoun County. To the 6 board members currently targeted for recall, if you are not going to change your behavior starting right now, I would ask you resign your positions immediately. This will help to begin healing the damage you have caused to the children of Loudoun and the lack of respect you have shown so many of the taxpayers you work for. It will also keep you from further embarrassing yourselves on social media and making you a target for those in the national media honest enough to cover this story. And just so you know, we receive messages of support from Americans all over the country who now follow the story of the Loudoun County School Board and who are now working to recall their own derelict school boards. It is critical we get the new school year off to a positive start. And your presence on this board makes that impossible. To the remaining 3 board members, it is time for you to start thinking for yourselves and speaking up. You know what is happening with this critical race theory poison and where it comes from. You know about the pornographic material allowed on class reading lists. You know policy 8040 is wrong. You know what vitriol your colleagues on the board have spewed on social media. And you know this ridiculous lawsuit against Tanner Cross is a charade caused in part by your colleagues working behind the scenes to destroy this man and his family. Starting right now, the three of you need to find a backbone and stand up for our kids and get this school system back on track. Lastly, to the citizens of Loudoun who pay the bills around here, you need to get involved and stay involved. The radicals are no longer just in the streets. They are on your school boards, in your state's attorney's office, in the principal's office, and in the classrooms. And they see your children as nothing but laboratories for their experiments in social engineering. Don't stand for it. Join us. We are Fight for Schools.
Hello, my name's Erin Roselle Poe. 18 months ago, I advocated to open our schools back up. I advocated for education, specifically SPED students, specifically my children. May I remind you of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, or FAPE, Free and Appropriate Public Education. This school board continues to make decisions that pertains to everything but education. You are consumed with political platforms that you have forgotten what matters most, providing quality education for all children. Yes, most children have struggled. However, your SPED community has barely stayed above water. What is it going to take for this board to realize you are doing more harm than good? Your constituents have lost all faith that you have the best interest in mind for our children. Over the course of the past 2 years, you have failed thousands of students who will now spend endless hours and years catching up academically and emotionally. It is time for this board to put your political agendas on hold and put all of your efforts back into education where it belongs. Thank you.
Mine's short but sweet. Most of the time when we're doing these speeches, they're to address the board. Today, I'm here to address the rest of the residents in Loudoun County. For anyone who doesn't have children at LCPS and thinks this doesn't affect you, think about the neighbor of yours that has kids attending these schools, and remember that the children of today will one day be leading this country. For anyone who hasn't come to board meetings because they thought they wouldn't make a difference, now is a time to stand up and show up. For anyone who is angry about policies and procedures in this board has implemented but doesn't know where to channel that frustration, send emails to the board and start doing your own research so that you stay informed. For those who have come to board meetings but are too nervous to speak up, now is the time to stand in front of your representatives and make them listen to you. For parents who see the indoctrination and divisiveness that this board is pushing on children but don't know what to do about it, talk to your kids and remind them of your values. Remind them that people should be judged only by the content of their character. You are the first and last line of defense for your children, and they are counting on you to be their moral compass and their voice. Everyone in this county can have a part in this fight, and we all need to take a stand together.
Hi, my name is Tori Walden, and actually I have a very similar message from the speaker right before me. I'm a Loudoun County resident. I'm a mother of 3. I've been involved in parenting. I've been an involved parent at the schools in the classroom since day one. I've helped in the classroom, I've helped in the PTA, and beyond. I started when my 2021 graduate was in kindergarten, and I still volunteer today. Despite having been involved at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, I never attended a school board meeting before last year. But I chose to get involved because I felt strongly that students needed an option to be in the classroom where they could be face-to-face with teachers 5 days a week. My middle child is a rising junior at LCPS, and my youngest has chosen to continue with homeschool after distance learning last year. With the thought that our family would only have 2 years left in LCPS, it would be easy to say, what's the point in trying? We could try to write out these 2 years and just be done with LCPS. But the policies, decisions, and agendas of the school board and the impact they have on the 81,000 students and their families goes beyond just those students. It goes to the 6,000 teachers, the 6,000 staff. It goes to my friends, my neighbors, and the community at large. This is Loudoun County, and we're all busy. But this is about the education of the next generation. I implore those of you that have yet to get involved to listen in, read up, and find out for yourself what is happening. So many people I chat with have no clue the decisions being made and how they will regard the curriculum, the programs, the policy of the county, and how these decisions will impact students, teachers, staff, families, and the community at large. Maybe they read sensationalized headlines and they check out. It's time to do more. Please get informed about Loudoun County Public School Board and the administration, their activities, and speak up. You can get more information at fightforschools.com. Thank you.
My name is Sulagna Pearson. I am a mom to 4 biracial children. I am an educated and analytical-minded Indian American who speaks 4 different languages. I cannot be fooled by the wordsmiths who camouflage the nefarious intent of CRT by using obscure and ever-changing verbiage. My biracial children will not be victimized by forced exposure to racist, divisive, anti-American, anti-law enforcement, anti-military, anti-religion, Marxist, communist messages propagated by CRT. My children's constitutional rights must be protected by LCPS if they refuse to participate in any instruction and any activity that inculcates aforementioned ideology. I demand my parental rights not be usurped by LCPS to indoctrinate any morals contrary to mine. LCPS's only goal should be to educate my children with the core curriculum of math, science, language arts, accurate history, etc. LCPS is not the second parent and cannot command my children's obedience to divisive discrimination based on skin color. If you are a hardworking, tax-paying citizen, stop being afraid and sitting on the sidelines, because here is the unvarnished truth. Those who control the youth control your future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carrie Michon, and I'm a mother of 6 and a 25-year resident of Loudoun County. Public education is not a license for indoctrination. History is replete with the horrific outcomes of that. If you want to ignore history, then look at what's happening right now in Venezuela and Rwanda. LCPS's foray into the social justice realm has created chasms of division, is dumbing down academics, killing Title IX, and promoting sexual abuse, all of which is 1,000 miles from equity. As one example, why on earth would you pull accelerated math at the middle school level? You are completely failing our vulnerable communities, telling them they aren't good enough to succeed, so instead you plan to trap them in mediocrity. Instead of spending millions of dollars on your so-called equity, aka divisive training, pornographic books, and installing fluorescent lights on rooftops, put the money into the 20% of our schools that are now below reading and mathematic baselines so that everyone has a chance to excel. Success breeds confidence, the confidence to build rockets, discover cures for cancer, and become master electricians, to reach for whatever star a child wants. LCBS once had the reputation as one of the best school systems in the United States. Now, we are just headlines for stupidity. Y'all need to course correct and get back to teaching the basics, which will give the tools for success to today's children. Our children deserve better. This school board needs to either resign or raise the friggin' bar.
My name is Abby Platt, and I'm the parent of 3 biracial children, one of which is a teenage girl who is an athlete that may be sidelined and pushed out of her sport by other children who choose to identify as something different than she is biologically. That troubles me a great deal. We moved here 10 years ago and specifically sought out Loudoun County for its phenomenal schools. What did we know back then? I must tell you that it is a great disappointment to hear over and over and over the last 18 months from people all over the country and all over the world. You know, in this area, we have people that live and travel all over the world for their jobs. They come and go from this area. And so what do I hear from people? Is that your school? Is that your county again on the news? Yes. With horror and shame, I put my head down and I say, yes, this is. We moved here 10 years ago with a 3-year-old in tow for our children, specifically to a small, quiet community for the schools. And now we say to ourselves, should we leave? Should we leave and find something better? I'm disappointed, extremely disappointed, to be in a position where there continues to be such uncertainty and distrust with what to expect with regard to Loudoun County schools. That stinks. I am disappointed that the school board does not care to listen to parents. You don't want to hear what the impact that this has had on our children and on families, and it will continue to have on our county, on businesses, on the value of our homes, etc. It will continue. It doesn't end right here. This will go on. I'm disappointed that progressive agendas have been at the forefront of the discussion, more of a focus than academic fundamentals. How can that be? How is that more important than the welfare of our children? It is baffling to me. It is time to get back to do the real work and to address the real needs of our children. That is the point of the school board, is to address the reading, writing, and arithmetic, the needs, the real needs of our children. Do that. It's time to do that right now.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Hess Williamson, and my husband and I have 9 children. 6 of them are still in the school system. This summer, we decided to pull most of our children out of LCPS and put them into private school. We actually did not pull them out because we were trying to shield our children from a policy or theory or idea that we don't like. Actually, it's actually the exact opposite. We want them to be prepared to engage with all viewpoints, to learn how to hash out their own thoughts, be open to disagreement and debate, and not just blindly accept the truth that Father Government tells them. But the current public school system does not build bridges and does not encourage or sometimes even allow debate. It forces millions of children into a zero-sum game where the chosen policy is always right and the other side is always wrong. That type of system creates shallow thinkers, narrow minds, and the exact opposite of diversity. Is critical race theory an anti-racist theory or a racially obsessed theory? Is calling someone the wrong pronoun an act of violence, or is that placing power where it doesn't belong? Those are great questions, but they aren't the right questions. The only right question is, do I have the ability to choose how my child is educated? It is a fundamental parental right to educate my children within my chosen framework. But the current system forces most parents into surrendering their children to the government-run default. My husband and I are blessed to have the resources to be able to exercise that fundamental parental right to school choice, but we are still here fighting today because not every parent does. Curriculum needs to be easily accessible and shared so parents can make informed decisions. Tax dollars need to follow the student so parents can seek an alternative to the state-run programs if they run hostile to their belief systems. School choice is the only answer to the decades-long curriculum wars, and we will keep fighting in Loudoun County and in Virginia and on the federal level until every parent has a true choice.
Ted Williamson, Catoctin District. I have one message for the school board. Get back on track. However many of you it takes to rid the board of the toxicity that has pervaded the dais for the last year and a half, do what is necessary to change the course of the Loudoun County School Board to one that is aligned with parents to the greatest extent possible. Listen to those with whom you disagree with the same energy and enthusiasm as those with whom you do agree. Inclusiveness shall not be reserved for only the groups you favor. Remaining faithful to the entirety of your constituencies depends on your willingness to listen carefully to all viewpoints. Elected officials normally become more popular and accomplish greater things as a result. The last year and a half has been tough on all of us. Unless you want the next year and a half to mimic the last, do something different. I'm still hopeful that Loudoun County Public Schools can return to the system it was a short time ago and not continue on the current path of Marxist ideology and woke doctrines. Things may not change before a different school board is elected. If that happens to be the case, so be it. All of my children will be out of school in a few short years, but please know that I will always be interested in what you are doing, and I will never again ignore the school board. I don't think I'm alone in that sentiment either. You will not go unchecked, and you will not go unquestioned.
Teachers of LCPS, I want to ask you a question. Who speaks for you? If you don't speak, someone else speaks for you. Those who speak on your behalf to the community may not be saying what you think they're saying. So who speaks for you? Is it the LEA, whose ineffectual, cowardly representation of teachers has forced tyrannical school lockdowns and made us the laughing stock of the working world using your own money? Loudoun County School Board, who refused to allow this community to have a voice in the content of their children's education, who attack and punish those who question their tyrannical methods, special interest organizations who impose extreme partisan politics into our schools, and trainings at the cost of academic performance and a healthy school environment? Is it our superintendent, who has lied repeatedly to the community to prop up these organizations and create the false sense that all is well? If you remain silent, this will be who speaks for you. You will be complicit in allowing a seizure of parental rights, forced indoctrination of students, to an extremist political ideology, and deliberate censorship of a large and diverse community whose only desire is what our schools have always promised them: a robust, rigorous education that is transparent and bipartisan. The parents and citizens who pay for our salaries, buildings, and resources, who entrust us with their children, are losing that trust in teachers. Many are pulling their students from LCPS for homeschooling or private schools because they no longer believe that our only goal is to provide a transparent and bipartisan education. You stay silent, but they still hear who speaks for you. If, like me, you refuse to let corrupt organizations and bureaucrats use your voice to gain political power, then it is time to speak. Speak out in trainings, in meetings, and in the community to assure the public that your voice is the one they can trust and that no one else speaks for you but you.
My name is Mike Brown. I'm a father of two in Loudoun County. My confidence in the school board and administration's strategic planning, or lack thereof, and vision has completely eroded over the last 17 months. This administration and board are caught up in many issues that have little to do with the fundamental educational building blocks for our children, and also has not addressed the unfinished learning loss stemming from the virtual instruction over the last 17 months. Instead, they are caught up in creating divisiveness in their direct actions and proposed policies, continual closed-door sessions, and ongoing controversy both locally and nationally. This board needs to wake up to the nearly 6,000 kids who withdrew last year. They may not be coming back, and many more are continuing to leave. also on the countless kids who are behind academically and suffering socially. We need a clear direction to maximize in-person learning for whatever COVID throws our way, address the significant gaps in MAP scores that were artificially inflated by 25%, and provide teachers the tools and resources that they need to effectively teach while maintaining some sort of a work-life balance that does not exist in a virtual environment.
Hi, my name is Emily Curtis, and I'm a 25-year resident of Loudoun County. I've been watching this school board controversy since March, when you came to my negative attention by allowing at least one of your school board members to gin up her followers on a private Facebook group to identify people who disagree with the school board in order to target them with some kind of retribution. As a lifelong Democrat with a profound commitment to the First Amendment, that crossed a line for me, so I started paying attention. What I've seen since has disturbed me even more. You've made up your mind on all of these issues under discussion. You've decided you're right, and you've decided you're righteous, so no dissenting opinions can make a dent in your certainty. You've decided that all of these people, speaking desperately and passionately about the needs of their children, have absolutely nothing of value to say, and you've chosen the cheapest and most craven method of excluding them. You've labeled all of this earnest concern as the merest politics. You've seen that some of the folks speaking are prominent Republicans, and thus labeled every form of disagreement as partisanship. All of these dissenters must have the wrong politics, watch the wrong media, and so they are henceforth excluded from the conversation. This is broken thinking. First, if you were paying attention, you'd realize that they're speaking in their parent capacity, which supersedes all politics. Second, and this is important, they're not all Republicans. You've made this partisan where it should not be. You've been given political cover by an extremely short-sighted Democratic establishment in Loudoun County. I expect that some of those will come to regret that in November. In doing this, you've abdicated your duty as public servants to serve all of your constituents, and not just the ones who voted for you. Yes, you've grudgingly doled out your bits of time for public comment, but as these parents pour their hearts out to you about their concerns for the most important people in their worlds, you can barely hide your contempt. You check your phone and you roll your eyes. That's not listening. All they've asked for is a seat at the table. Is that really too much?
My name is Michael Rivera. I live in the Leesburg district, and we moved here about 3 years ago because Loudoun County is a great place. I still believe it is. It's a safe place to live. We don't have problems of systemic racism. We don't have race riots in the street. And I don't quite understand where the school board and these public institutions are coming from when they say these things are happening. There's so much going on today that is wrong that it's difficult to pinpoint one particular action. What the school board fails to realize is that they're a public body, that they were elected by we the people of Loudoun County, and we the people of Loudoun County will summarily unelect them and remove them because they're not doing anything for us. I don't know where the folks on the board got off track in thinking that their personal opinions and political views were more important than the public that they serve. In being a politician, the hard decisions are the ones where you put aside your personal feelings and you do what the people elected you to do. So as a Democrat, if there's majority of Republicans in your district and they want you to do something, your role is to represent them, not to represent yourself or your party or your radical views. In all of this, the losing group are our children. There are some glimmers of hope, though. There was an Olympic medalist, African-American young lady that was so proud to wear our flag and represent our country that she spoke proudly about it, and it brought me to tears. Those are the kinds of rays of hope that we need to look for, and we need to find more people like that. There are also some facts out there that are important. 2 school boards in Virginia have already voted to not accept the transgender policies put forth by the Virginia Department of Education. That shows that this board can stand up and can do the right thing for our children. And my last point is that we all need to become educated. You can be anybody you want in the United States. You can be anybody you want in the school system. That's fine. Nobody's holding it against you. You can be transgender, you can be gay, you can be bisexual, you can be whatever you want. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can't force other people to believe what you believe. And that's what the school board is trying to do now. They're trying to make us do things that we don't believe. We can respect each other, we can coexist, but we cannot be forced to believe things that are not true. So I encourage everybody to educate themselves. You're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And there are a lot of facts out there that we all need to know and keep telling other people because they're irrefutable. Thank you.
I respectfully ask the school board to allow kids the opportunity to learn 5 days a week in a fear-free school environment. I realize this school board administration say they want everyone to be safe and secure. I appreciate and support this goal. However, the school board policy continues to take us further and further away from this goal. The school board administration have left our kids damaged, vulnerable, and left behind. Mental health issues have surged and test scores declined, all due to an unnecessary and arbitrary lockdown, defying science and common sense. I ask, is there a plan for student learning loss, or does the school board just shrug their shoulders and move on to the next year? Our kids deserve better, and this begs the question, who is being served by Loudoun's public school system? The parents and kids who use the service, or the school politicians, bureaucrats, and unions entrusted to educate our kids? Unfortunately, this board votes for those who serve themselves with a narrow self-interest instead of the collective good of educating the next generation. Parents have been threatened and intimidated by school board members simply for voicing their opinion on school openings. This is wrong, and the uncouth Beth Bartz can now be sued in civil court for her behavior. A school employee was suspended simply for expressing his conviction. The court ordered the teacher reinstated. Yet this school board and administration doubles down, wasting public funds, and appeals the court ruling purely to be vindictive and retaliatory. None of this time and money educates Loudoun kids. Challenge coins, school administration bonuses, books purchased outside procurement process, jersey barriers, woke training are all funds that should be in the classroom. I ask that you please start being better stewards of school funds and educating Loudoun kids. And my hope is the recall effort will result in the immediate start to staggered school board terms, because in Loudoun, we cannot afford to continue to dumb down our kids while covering them up. It's time to raise the bar and unleash their learning potential. Thank you.
My speech today is a collaborative speech. We are parents here in Loudoun County. We are voters here in Loudoun County. We are taxpayers of Loudoun County. It has been 517 days since our children have experienced a normal school day. LCPS changed the entire education structure in the names of COVID, equity, and politics. LCPS equity training states teachers have a special role to teach academics. The statement should have stopped there. The teacher is not the second mother. It is not their job to inoculate morals. Jeff Moore said to Ziegler upon announcing his promotion, "We had facts, we had figures, we went back and forth, but we could not make a decision until you stepped in." It's apparent that the board had no problem hiring a person that is known to contribute to the LCPS debacle. Ms. Reeser, on her official social media, spent the summer pushing the Democratic agenda, then states, "To me, it's clear they're using our kids as a wedge issue for this November's election. We are creating the wedge. You are the one that has made these decisions." Mr. Sorokin gave a personal statement that appeared to be sincere. but it was just clearly posturing. Brenda, when Policy 8040 passes, will you rest your gavel in approval of the cheer in the room? Will the board get up and leave for this disruption? Or will you sit and smile among the uproar as your pet project has finally been passed? Beth's going remote is a clear indication that she won't face the public. School board members are expected to be inclusive when representing their constituents. It's been 517 days. It's time to stop the lies and put the children first. Let the teachers teach that 2 + 2 = 4, factual science and history, and let the parents parent. Your decisions have a lasting effect on the children long after the last bell rings. People need to take action and sign the recall now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Onderchain and I live in the Broad Run District. As a Loudoun parent to 2 high school students as well as a taxpayer, I am absolutely disgusted by the school board and administration. You failed on so many levels over the last 17 months that it's actually hard for me to even prioritize my grievances here with you today in this speech. Your track record of catering to special interests and ignoring the pleas of concerned parents like us is definitely at the top. Identity politics and social justice pet projects continue to trump academic excellence in prioritizing preparing our students for college and to go out into the world. Under your leadership, so-called leadership, Loudoun County has become the laughingstock of our nation. You cannot stay out of the news. You've failed us, the parents and students of Loudoun, again and again. Members of this school board have taken to social media to attack parents, including myself, and intimidate teachers who question the politics being injected into our school system. You've spent millions on polarizing critical race theory training that demeans our teachers and staff. You all have lost track of your core mission, which is providing a top-notch education for our children, and that is why you will be recalled, starting with your ringleader, Beth Bartz. And soon, decency, professionalism, competence, and a focus on meritocracy will be restored to us, the families and taxpayers of Loudoun County. TikTok, Ms. Bartz. And please, if you've been sitting on the sidelines, come and fight with us. We are Fight for Schools.
My name is Bethany, and I am a mother of 3 Loudoun County schools students. I wake up every morning nervous that there'll be an announcement from LCPS that schools will be closed or hybrid again. Every time I get an email from LCPS, I'm almost too nervous to open it because it rarely has any good news. Our children have been through enough and have given up enough for COVID. We are supposed to be the adults and put the children first, which we have failed at horribly for over 18 months. We can change that, and we can change that now. I remember a time not too long ago that it was up to the parents to decide what was best for their children, or at least be involved in the conversation. Decisions weren't made for me and my children with zero input from their parents. It's not about sides anymore. It's about making the best decision for our children. It's a balance, not one-sided. The learning loss is already so great, our children cannot and should not be asked to sustain anymore. My kids want to go to school and learn and laugh and be kids. It's time to be adults and work together for our kids. They deserve the same education that I had, and I'll do whatever I have to do in order to make that happen. I want and deserve a school board and representatives that are willing to do the same. I'm hopeful that LCPS can get back on track, and I can promise I will continue to stay involved and do whatever is necessary to make that happen.
My name is Kay Greenwell. Where did all the federal COVID money go? In May, you appropriated $11 million from the American Rescue Plan. In June, you received money from the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Funds, or ESSER, $2.5 million for unfinished learning, and about $4 million for IDEA special ed funding. Where is all this money going, and how is it helping the kids with lost learning and mental health problems stemming from distance learning? Fairfax County Public Schools launched a community survey, 3 focus groups, and a public hearing to get input from constituents on how to use ESSER funds. FCPS has adopted a plan for this money, which is currently posted on their website with the total amount of funding and a description of how it is being used. Arlington Public Schools held public work sessions, public hearings, requested feedback and comment, maintained a budget development website, and communicated regularly with the public before announcing where the money was going. What has Loudoun done? Well, I found an email address on the LCPS website where members of the public can send input, but that's about it. No surveys, no focus groups, no hearings, no plan posted that I could find, not even a total amount of funding received by LCPS. We know you don't like public comment. This school board meeting has a whole new set of restrictions on public access, which is unprecedented. When you limit public access to meetings and are opaque about where all the sweet, free federal money goes, I must ask for a complete and transparent accounting of all federal COVID funds. This is something the Loudoun Board of Supervisors suggested during last spring's budget season. You may recall they asked for this accounting to be produced sometime this fall, and I look forward to seeing your report, perhaps in the October timeframe, which Chair Randall recommended. Fix the transparency and accountability issues at LCPS. Thank you.
My name is Amy Yar, and I have 3 kids in LCPS, and my pronouns are angry mom. You know, I was having a really hard time writing my speech for today because I'm normally fueled knowing that this school board has to sit there quietly and listen to me, at least for my 1 minute. But I didn't have that fuel for today's speech because we quite literally have been banished to my own backyard. And I have to admit, it had me feeling deflated, and I was just going to bow out and not speak today. But all I had to do was look at my kids this morning, and my thought was, oh hell no, you won't shut me up, and you definitely won't do it in my own backyard. So this message is for anyone watching this. Silencing parents is their end game, and this game is way bigger than this school district. And they will do anything and everything to win the game. They want us out of the way to continue the indoctrination of our kids. And they have clearly demonstrated that they will violate your constitutional rights to achieve that. So pay attention, it's happening. We need you to join us in fighting this fight across the United States. This backyard battalion here, it's going national.
I pulled my child out of Loudoun County Public School because of the behavior of the school board members' actions, bullying, lying, and their constant division agenda, CRT. Then you have the nerves to play victim when you get caught. This is everything I taught my child not to be. What happened to keeping religion, politics, and sexuality out of school? You excluded my child and my parenting morals. One by one, we will oust you out. And just because you're not on this recall list doesn't mean you're not next.
In the LCPS training documents uncovered this summer, it was stated that teachers were second mothers and that their job was to inculcate morals to their students while the parents' job was to respect and support the teacher. Here are just a few examples of the moral high ground LCPS officials stand on, thinking that they can supplant my family values. In our house, we teach our children not to post anything online that they wouldn't want mom or dad to see. While LCPS creates multiple secret groups that violate open meeting laws, planning board policies, while they bully, target, dox, and intimidate and slander constituents in the attempt to silence the opposition. In our house, we consider lying to the sheriff during an investigation of a crime obstruction of justice. LCPS board member Beth Bartz tells the sheriff that she posted a call to action and walked away from her Facebook page. We know that's not true. We have the documents to show you that you were indeed online the same night that you issued your initial call to target parents along with your police statement. Tick-tock, Miss Bartz. In our house, we consider a lie of omission a failure to tell the truth. We do not play word games in our home. We do not say that we aren't doing one thing because you called it by another name. We teach our children to work hard, to be proud of their accomplishments, to learn from their failures, to apologize if they hurt someone, and to treat others as they would wish to be treated. LCPS teaches that white children are oppressors, persons of color are the oppressed, that Dr. Seuss and Mark Twain are offensive, but pornography violating the very sexual harassment codes that are discussed in, are okay to discuss in book clubs. That faith is for the weak. Anonymously reporting someone who has no opportunity to face their accuser is acceptable. And that we need not worry about individual accomplishments because we are all guaranteed equal outcomes. I will proudly stand on my house rules and refuse to co-parent with a government who cannot follow laws, establish policies, ethical standards if they don't align with your own personal agenda.
My name is Jessica Mendez and I live in the Blue Ridge District. Being a school board member has to be one of the most difficult jobs in the country over this past year and a half. Parents recognize that challenge, but you have failed to rise to the occasion and you have made everything worse. That all starts at the top. Chairperson Brenda Sheridan has let a toxic member of the board divide the community with her actions. Over the past 5 months, when Beth Bart's behavior became worse, Ms. Sheridan checked out and did nothing. We are not the bad guys here. We are parents who are fighting for our kids and their education. You awoke a sleeping dragon because our children are struggling. Our children are falling behind while you sit back and do nothing. Our children are struggling from learning loss while you sit back and do nothing. Our children are struggling emotionally because you sit back and do nothing. We are not going anywhere. Not all of us can afford private school or are able to homeschool our children. Most of us can't leave and pick up and move. We are depending on you to work together with us and hear us. We are parents who want a seat at the table. We represent the majority of Loudoun County, and we're looking for leaders who will listen. No one has stepped up. Not everyone will get everything they want, but we have to work together. I hope this happens. I sincerely do. But one thing is very clear, that a functioning school board will not be one with Beth Bartz being a member of it. Not if Fight for Schools has anything to say about it.
My name is Alicia Brand. I'm a mother of 3 children, and I'm struggling. 2 weeks away from school, and I can't bring myself to re-enroll my children into LCPS. On one hand, they need a quality education so that they can get the education they need to be able to get into the school they need to be what they want to be when they grow up. But on the other hand, after 18 months of struggling with social isolation, they need to go back to their public school with the children they grew up with. I'm struggling because I know they cannot get both at LCPS. And I now must choose because neither decision will make my children whole. I moved to Loudoun County 8 years ago when LCPS did, in fact, provide a world-class education to our students. The parents, the teachers, the administrators, they all work together towards the betterment of our children. But today, because of the actions that you have taken as an incompetent and uncaring board, you have lowered the standards of education so that no child can get a quality education, let alone a competitive education. For the last 18 months, I have watched this board destroy a once #1 in the country school system. I've watched board members, Miss Bartz, Miss Reeser, Miss Sheridan, plot against parents and teachers and take the focus off of education and replace it with a steadfast allegiance to a political ideology on the backs of our children. You have become an activist school board, abusing its powers to do what it can do instead of what it should do. And what it should do is provide a quality education in reading, writing, arithmetic, and history, free of any political agenda. What it should do is not train our teachers to make our children social justice advocates, but instead it should be doing what it has to do to make up for 18 months of a learning loss. It should be helping our children to navigate the social anxiety and the emotional challenges that they will certainly feel after being out of school for 18 months and going into a school with face diapers and the fear of school closing down and once again being isolated from their friends. We all here stand for individual freedom, liberty, and parental rights, and we will die on that hill to do that for our children. And you as board members and administrators and us as a community and parents must come together because we need to have our children come first. Thank you.
My name is Bree Bailey, and I live in the Leesburg district. Here we are again, a new school year, a chance for all of you to do this right, a chance for you all to give our children the school year they deserve, a normal school year, a year that will allow our littlest learners to start their school career building friendships, learning the basics, learning to love school, and a year to allow our oldest learners to make lasting memories and prepare themselves for the next chapter of their lives. Do not mess this up. I beg you. There is absolutely no reason to shut anything down again this year, so don't. We need to look forward, but also must address the enormous learning loss that occurred last year. So, what is your plan for that? Because to date, all I have seen is words and no actions. Nothing. Will you provide extra tutoring at no cost? Because my rising first grader could definitely benefit with that, along with the rest of the LCPS student population, I'm sure. We expect a plan. In order for you to move forward and implement any plans, you must call for the resignation of your most toxic board member, Beth Bartz. She adds absolutely nothing to this board except divisiveness and mocks and argues with constituents on a daily basis. This is your chance to fix things, to make things right. Our kids deserve a normal school year, breathing fresh air, in a class with their teachers and peers all year long. Like I said before, do not mess this up.
My name is Brandon Michon. I'm a proud father of 4. It's amazing how you as a school board continue to create a media nightmare through bad policy, decisions, and actions. You have been elected to a school board. You are not the Supreme Court. The decisions you are making are not landmark decisions, nor should they be. This is not the environment to jam political agendas down the throats of our children. What the parents, students, and taxpayers are asking isn't a political coup. There is no marching militia. There are no rolling tanks. It is my job to be the parent. It is your job to ensure values, beliefs, and the priorities of the community, not yourself. Let's refocus on teaching, reading, writing, history, shop class, science, and advanced math. Please figure it out. We have asked time and time again, and the answers or the lack thereof continue to come in. It's okay to have a different opinion. So why don't we let both of our voices be heard publicly? I urge you to organize a town hall as soon as possible to allow those who desire to ask and get real-time answers from you. I was told once that rational people can achieve rational decisions together. Let's figure it out and raise the bar in Loudoun County. Thank you.
My name is Gary Higgins. My wife and I live in the Catoctin District. We have 3 daughters educated in Loudoun County and currently 4 grandsons in the county. I'm here to speak specifically against Policy 8040. I know you all normally like to talk about following the science, so I thought today I would share a little biology with you. There are 2 chromosomes that determine a person's gender or sex. It's the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. If you have 2 X chromosomes, you're a female. If you have an X and a Y chromosome, you're a male. In fact, if I feel a certain way, that doesn't determine what or who I am. Those 3 daughters of mine, they were all athletes. And men participating in women's sports is absurd. It is unfair. It'll undo what's been done over the years with Title IX. And it will eventually do away with women's competitive sports. Now, where did I get this xenophobic nonsense? Well, I got it from the NIH website, genome.gov. I know that you all normally don't like to talk much about religion either, but it's interesting that the science intersects with Genesis 5:2. Genesis 5:2 says, God created them male and female, and he blessed them and he called them humans. The NIH website goes on to say that the Y chromosome of all living males is related to a single male ancestor who lived about 100,000 years ago. As an aside, that information undermines any arguments for CRT because there is only one race, and that is the human race. Please, in your deliberations, follow the science. And remember, how I feel does not determine who or what I am. Vote against Policy 8040. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Debbie Rose. I live in the Algonquian District. Responsibility. Everyone has a responsibility to participate in the process of governing ourselves honestly, ethically, and respectfully. That applies to parents, students, teachers, administrators, residents, and officials like you. With the exception of Jeff Morse, the members of this school board have not executed their duties responsibly. Several of you have mocked people who have different opinions, calling them names and trying to publicly shame them. You ignore or silently agree as people in private Facebook groups of which you are members hurl nasty insults and target people who have different opinions. That hate is okay, I guess. Nearly all of you have ignored impassioned pleas from students and parents and teachers to acknowledge the learning loss and staggering increase in depression in kids. Where is your compassion for all students? Your new superintendent let everyone know that parents aren't important in his decision-making process. Your chair is silent on the shocking failing grades and test scores, particularly impacting low-income, and minority students. And one of you has continually operated with reckless disregard for facts and policy. And now this board should be ashamed of the additional restrictions on public participation in the process of school policy making. When will the school board take responsibility for the poor leadership that resulted in yet another bad decision? When will you uphold your own conduct policy and welcome all input? Reminder, this is about the students, all of them. Please do follow the lead of Mr. Morse and do research. Get the facts. Spend less time promoting yourself on Facebook. Listen to everyone and try to find common ground and solutions that focus on quality education. That is the responsible leadership we need.
Hi, I'm Mari Casey. I am a graduate of Loudoun County Public Schools. I have raised 2 graduates of Loudoun County Public Schools, and I have 2 more following through. Today you have listened to parents talk about concerns about learning loss, about equality, about racial things, sexual, all kinds of policies that you have put forth that further divide and hurt our students. But all of that is for loss if we do not have freedom of speech. The freedom of speech is the right to express any position without censorship or restraint. It is the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without the fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. You have shown to us that you do not believe in freedom of speech. Members of the board have been part of a Facebook group trying to silence the opposition by threatening families, jobs, houses, etc. You have taken a teacher who came forth with the full belief that he had the right to address grievances before the board and suspended him and sued him and keep pursuing this case in court until we have the freedom of speech. The ability to address the school board, not limited by 10 people, 1 person in the boardroom at a time, by not being able to gather and address you as a group, by shutting down, when you shut down the school board meeting and you arrested parents for expressing their views and their grief, you failed us. You failed the community. You failed the schools. You have failed everybody around you. Our children need to learn how to discuss, how to have interactions, how to be able to dialogue, to have discussions. We need to be able to teach our children critical thinking, to look at things and say, well, I don't agree with that, and here's why. And for the person they're talking to go, you know what? I can see your point, or I don't agree, this is my point. We don't have to agree, but we have to respect each other. The principal of Parkview High School closed every message to us, and Mr. Dolson would always say, life is full of decisions, make good ones. Let's make good ones.
Hello, everyone.
You made the big appearance.
Just do it all. All right. Okay, how long? Okay. Go up to the podium.
Can I have a ride home on the bike?
All right. Yeah. Good afternoon. Hello, I'm Fred. Wanted to talk about critical race theory here in Loudoun County, specifically as it relates to my daughters who are African American, very bright, very articulate, very intelligent, and very confident young ladies. And the things that I'm reading and hearing about CRT seek to take all of that away from them, and I'm not going to stand for it. I don't want to have a situation where my children feel animus towards another human being because of the color of their skin. I don't want my children's friends to feel guilty about the color of their skin because they're white and my children are not. I believe more in Martin Luther King's philosophy than I do Karl Marx's philosophy, and I'm just here to make a stand against it. I find it interesting the temerity of a group of people here in America trying to erase or push away what they call a system created by a group of white people around a table a long time ago that they feel is wrong and racist. Yet they are literally a group of white people around a table creating a system that they feel is against racism. The irony is unbelievable. I don't want the schools teaching my children anything about race. I want them to teach them arithmetic, reading, writing, science, civics, which does not include politics. I actually am an immigrant to the United States. Came here when I was 4 years old with a funny accent, and thought how strange that everybody here only speaks one language. But what I did find here that wasn't strange and that was human and natural to me was liberty and freedom. It felt right. It felt good. And a system that teaches critical race theory let's just back up and go to critical theory. Critical theory on its face was designed for a proletariat bourgeoisie kind of system that got the people to rise up against the leaders at the time. Is the goal of the Loudoun County School Board to get me to rise up against the people behind me? Well, if that's their goal, it's going to fail. I'm not going to do it. I am one of the people behind me. These are my fellow citizens. We want liberty. We want freedom. We want you to get out of the way and teach our kids. That's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.